Welcome to the Spirituality Now podcast, a podcast committed to supporting you in your journey to life mastery and personal enlightenment. Welcome to the Spirituality Now podcast. I am your host, very excited host, Yvonne de la Flor. A kind reminder that the Spirituality Now podcast is a podcast for practical spirituality, highlight the word practical, leadership, and also life mastery. And what life mastery, we talk about everything in life. It's an all-inclusive process. For me, spirituality is not going only to the monastery, which I love to go, and meditating with the monks, is who we are at home, who we are washing the dishes, who we are in business, at sales, what are our values. All of these core values, I believe, they are the new sutras of these modern times that we're living, and especially when we live by them and we respect our fellow human beings. Anywho, so today I have an incredible guest with us, an expert on sales, and actually a sales genius. And I'm going to introduce him to you. The guest's name, our beloved guest's name, is Joe Ingram, Mr. Joe Ingram, who is the creator of the Genius training system. I like him. You know, just anything that has the word genius in it, I want to learn from. Joe has created the Clubhouse Journal and many other books that have been widely successful. He is a husband first, father second. I love that discernment. And he's also a best-selling author and an industry leader in both the automotive and software industries. Pardon my Spanglish. He is known for helping clients increase both sales and profitability in all departments within the dealership walls. Joe has personally managed several single rooftop dealerships to over 1,000 units sold per month. Wow. He also trains many of the number one dealerships in the United States and overseas. With the average franchise dealership in the United States selling less than 100 units per month, Joe has consistently 10x the average. Joe is known for two things: always improving dealerships' results in both fixed and variable operations, and he and his team deliver the training and instruction utilizing humor. And he's a father. He lives in Southern California and currently resides in Orange County with his bride of 20 years. I love that he calls her his bride, who runs the number one Jeep dealership in California. Ooh. He and his trainers provide their clients exceptional results all over the United States, both in person and virtually. He is the co-founder at One Life Productions and the founder at War Games Group. Hua. Welcome, Joe.
Thank you. That was a mouthful. I was like, wow, there's so much stuff you said. Thank you, Miss Yvonne.
Oh my goodness. There's so much things you've created. I mean, this is years and years and years. You've earned the right for us to use half of the podcast in introducing you to the people. So, Mr. Joe, welcome, welcome, welcome. We are super honored to have you here. We know your body of work. You really are called the sales genius for a reason. And just meeting you behind the scenes of this podcast, also I can see how what a great contribution as a human you are for our humanity. So welcome, Joe.
Thank you, Miss Yvonne. No, I'm completely honored to be on the podcast as well. And again, I'll warn you now, I believe humor is the best way to get a message across. So if it's okay, I will be playful and we can talk about things.
You know, that's why, you know, I don't talk about religion much on this podcast, but I got baptized by choice before going to China, became a Christian in 2019, I believe, or 2018. And one of the pastors that I love, and that many people don't like him, but I really love him. And the reason why I like him is because he uses humor, is Joel Osteen. So humor is welcome. And I think humor is part of us not taking life so serious. So yes, please be humorous and please share your wisdom with laughter. So, Joe, we're going to start this podcast as I usually start with most of our guests, and because you know every great genius and entrepreneur that has not only achieve success. For me, success is not only personal, is when you have helped others achieve success for them, right? That's when I believe really success begins to occur, when others are benefiting their life. But before we start in how this is happening for you and how you provide for so many people this wisdom, we need to know, where did Joe Ingram began? So share a little bit about your story, how Joe, the boy, the adolescent, the young adult, became aligned into this path that now you serve so many people with.
Oh, thank you. Absolutely. So I will tell you that I grew up in an upper middle class family. And what had happened was my dad was very successful in owning his own gas stations, and he owned multiple gas stations. And money was pretty prevalent at the time. And when we got to that point where we were no longer scrimping and trying to get through, my mom said, "It's time for us to give back, and we want." And her and my dad said, "We're becoming foster parents." And so for me, I was 11 years old, and now understanding that I'm going to be a child that has foster children in the house. And I didn't know what that meant, didn't know what was going on. But we ended up with over 20, I've had over 20 little sisters that went through our house, right, as they were transitioning to their forever homes that we had done. But I got to see a really, really bad side of society. And so every time a foster child ends up in your home, it's typically from a really bad situation that got them there. And so I, at 11 years old, developed this: you can't trust anyone. And, everybody out there's rotten and evil, because, like, my first foster sister, as she first came in the house, was 8 months old. She had 7 broken ribs. Her arm was in a cast, and she had broken blood vessels in her eyes from being hit too hard. And prior to coming to us, within 30 days, she had had 2 skull fractures. And so that was our first step into becoming foster parents. And she stayed with us for 2 years and became, like my brother and I, the little sister. We had a bunch of little kids that came through in the beginning, and so on our way to 20, right? 20 took about 4 years in the program, but this little one stayed with us. Her name was Holly. She stayed with us for 2 years, and so she was Dad's first little girl. She was our first little sister, and a lot of stuff happened while we were going through there that helped to make sure I didn't like human beings or trust adults. But since she was abused, her mother was allowed to come for visitations. And so when her mother came for visitations, for the next 2 weeks, this child would wake up screaming bloody murder and not know where she and was back in the abuse. And so my mother would wake up in the evening and pick her up out of the bed and then walk her through the house. So this became the ritual for 2 weeks after every visitation, and she was allowed to visit once a month. And so she would come in and she would walk through every one of the rooms. And so she'd open up my door and say, "Here's Joey's room. Look, there's Joey." Right. And it's midnight and I'm 11. I have to go to school the next day. And it was like, okay. Then she would go down to my brother's room and she'd say, "Here's Mickey." Right. She'd go down and you would go through all the bedrooms upstairs, go downstairs, and then she would take her outside and show her the German Shepherd that learned this was the process. So the German Shepherd would sit up and be waiting at the door, knowing he was the last stop on that lap. Then my mom would come back upstairs, hand her to my father. And then my father would walk around, open up the door in every one of our bedrooms to say, "Here's Joey, here's Mickey," get all the way downstairs to the dog. Then he'd come up, and I knew after the second door opening, it was my turn. And then I had to take her and walk her through and show her, "Here's mom and dad's room, right? Here's
Wow.
Frank's room, here's Mickey's room," and then show her all the stuff and then end with the dog. Now the whole time we were doing this, she was literally gasping for breath and in the crying, just full on crying, screaming. And by the time I finished and was handing her off to my little brother to go around the house, she would start to realize she was not back in that spot. And so
Wow.
she would start to get to that point, and then she'd be able to breathe, calm down, and then she can go back to bed later. But this was going on for years that this happened. And so we knew at that point. So I learned early on, man, there's a lot of things that happen to you as a kid that mess up your head. And then me myself was messed up from witnessing what was there, the end result. And that's when I stopped and said, as I grew up, it got less and less. But then the court gave Holly back to her mom
Oh
at the
no.
at the end of the 2 years. Now the mom did all the counseling, did what she wanted, or did what she was required to. So the court gave her back, and that just ripped my dad's heart out, ripped all of us our hearts out. And so it was one of those things that I didn't know what to do. Right. So now you're looking, I'm 13 years old. I don't have a car. I'm 13. The only thing I could do was when she left was jump on my bike and ride around the neighborhood for hours and try to go find some place where I could feel the feelings that I was feeling, kind of deal. And so, and then to add to that, about 3 years after that, the mother inadvertently came into one of my dad's gas stations where we were at, and she came in to ask directions. My dad recognized her, and then Holly came up and walked up. And so my dad looked down and said, "Hi, Holly. Do you remember me?" And she goes, "No. Hi, my name's Holly," and put her hand out to shake my dad's hand. And so I'm standing there. I'm starting to cry. I look over. My father is just, the tears are pouring out of his head. And he got up and walked away. He went and jumped in the car and left because he didn't know how to handle that emotion. But they say anytime you replace a parent under the age of two, like, how do I know that? Because I had to look it up. But after the age of two, if prior to the age of two, you can replace the parental figure and the child will have no memory to access unless hypnosis is involved or something. But the child would not remember. And she didn't remember my dad. She didn't remember me. And it was just, like a brutal slap that it was just pain. And so to me, that sent me on the quest of, let me start learning how the brain works. But I'm 13, I don't know a lot. And I realized all of that was still sitting in my head as an adult when I was 30. Right.
Wow.
but
Yes.
but what I learned while I was there was working at the gas station. I started working when I was 7 at the family owned business. And so by the time I graduated high school, what I had learned was people would pull off of the freeway on their way to work in the morning and like get off the freeway a mile before they needed to, or a mile off the freeway, to come drive into my dad's gas station. They would honk the horn, and these are all business people that are on their way to work, and they would honk their horn. My dad would come out and they go, "Tell me the joke of the day, Joe," because I'm a junior, right? "Tell me the joke of the day." And he would come out, tell them a joke, they'd laugh, and then they would drive another half a mile down the road, get back on the freeway, and continue to work. And so, but it was constantly these people pulling in and just asking for the joke of the day. But those same people that did that always brought their car to my dad to get maintenance done and work done. And so that's when you stop. And I learned right away um, that humor brings people together. And that is the best way to build rapport with somebody, because the loyalty came after that. And so,
Wow, Joe, I don't know if to laugh and cry, just and this the depth of this story, and and just let's talk a little bit that, because this is the Spirituality Now podcast.
mhm,
There is a book called A Course in Miracles that
mhm.
speaks about that there comes in the life of people a moment that is called the holy moment, the holy moment that will awaken us, will tear us down from inside, will dismantle all of our beliefs, will call us back into grace, call us back into mission, call us back into purpose. And I truly believe that this holy person, right, was one of those moments because you were such a young boy and you are at an age of initiation, 11 years old to 13. That's that's a rite of passage for boys, especially. Women
Yes.
start a little bit younger. And for you to have the soul, the heart to perceive this and feel the feelings and witness your father and witness the emotions and then have existence or creation, however you want to call it, bring her back for you, be able to see her again and her not remembering you all. And I just think it's a holy moment. I think that's incredible. And how you witness your father also, being a business owner and the people coming together because of his humor. I think it's an incredible legacy you are carrying to use humor to build rapport and to do sales training and all the incredible things you do in the world. So it's such an honor to have you here. Especially, I was like, wow, do I cry or do I work? Anyways, so
Well,
my
I also
humor,
think the
yeah,
benefit for us was to
yes,
see she was okay.
that's
So
what I was going. Yes.
right. So when we saw her, it was great to see that she wasn't hurt, that she had grown up, that
Mm,
she became a good little girl kind of thing. So that
yes.
we were like, okay, so that it helped with closure. It may not have been the closure we wanted,
Right.
but
Right.
we got to know, because you never know, right? If they give it back to an abuser, you hope that all of those classes and all of the court stuff actually kicked in and they became a better parent and learned from it. So it helped us at that point to know that she would be okay.
Yeah, I love that you said closure comes maybe not how we want it, like in relationships, in businesses, but there will be a closure. Natural law, just practical. Natural law has a way to bring closures, to bring, the storm into calm, to bring the earthquake into stillness. It's a part of natural law. And I love that you are able to see this. So wow, after this, Joe, you know after this, and you were such a young boy. So what happens next? So you grow up, you watch your father, how humor brings it together, and you venture yourself to study. And how do you become this sales genius, and what does that mean?
So I will tell you, I never set out to say I want to do sales.
Yeah, no,
Okay.
I don't think have
And
you
no
ever
one
met
does.
anyone?
Yeah,
No.
exactly.
I don't know even if Grant Cardone have ever said. I saw that your bio that you work with him, like Ed
Yes.
Milet, but names like that I respect. I don't
Yes.
even know someone said like I'm born to do sales, but I don't know.
Right. I will say I was told a lot that I have a personality for sales, but we're all diverse individuals, and a lot of people, your personality is going to change over time or where you focus it. And so I became an electrical engineer, which is not somebody that you think of for sales. But when I went into got my electrical engineering degree and went to work for an aerospace company, I was told all the time, they were like, dude, will you just be quiet and do your work? And I'm like, I'm done with my work. I'm helping other people at this point. So by the time I was 21, I was a manager of a department in an aerospace manufacturing company, because my personality lent itself to helping others and to, again, not being quiet. So I rose up very quickly to the point I was responsible for millions of dollars of budget, and probably 30 to 35 people that reported to me because of that. But that was because of the personality. But that personality was more from my dad's side than it was, anything else. I get my stubbornness from my mom, thinking I can do anything, and then I get the personality side of utilizing humor to get people to join within the mission and going forward, kind of thing. Like you said, Joel Osteen introduces humor and can bring people to spirituality because he's opened the door with humor. And I believe, after all the years I've gone through training and stuff, was um, ego is what keeps people from connecting. And so I've heard people before tell me that ego stands for edging God out, right? And it's putting you before anyone else. I've adapted it and said it's edging gross out of your deal. You can't get gross profit on a deal unless you've checked your own ego at the door. Because you have to build value for that person, not for you, right? It's not this podcast we're doing, Miss Yvonne, is for me to say, hopefully somebody hears something from me that will all of a sudden make something else make sense that they've heard, and help them to connect the dots and go forward with what they're doing. Whether they do sales or not is irrelevant. I truly believe if I can make someone a better human, then the sales will come. And so I spend a lot of my time working on the individuals that are there and helping them to overcome what they have that's weighing them down.
I
And then
love
that will
that.
do it.
Yeah, I love that. Wow, it's so deep. I think, it's already happening. Because you are coming from experience, and I can feel it. I can feel it in my body. I can feel what you are sharing. It's inviting me to already be a better human. And that's a goal that all of our team has. Like, how can we become better than we were yesterday, and better quality humans that actually add value to the world, that add value to the people, right? That when we that leave a legacy right now, that we become right now, which we are ancestors already, but worthy ancestors of a future that hopefully is much better than what we are experiencing some of the time. So, talking about emotions, Joe, because I love that you work on the emotional aspect of people. I always thought that I was not good at sales until I thought different. Right. I always thought that, oh my gosh, I don't want to have to do anything with sales. Like, if it was like oh no, we're talking about something that is dark and evil, and it's not. It's actually something that my children teach me so well. When they want something, they are so convincing. They are so insisting. They bring me. I'm going to give you an example, and I think you will treasure it, and I'll be quick at that. My son, talking about sales, right? And emotions. My son wants a dog. Our dogs died a couple of years ago. It was grief after grief with every single dog. It was more painful for me than many human transitions, right? And so it was a hard decision to do. And he comes with me like, Mom, this is the dog. It's a Shih Tzu. I'm like, that's good, but I'm not ready. I'm traveling. I'm about to launch a book, all that stuff, right? It's about me, and I don't want to hear it. And he comes. He says, I did all the research. They are hypoallergenic. Number one, no, okay, I'm good with that, right? Number two, Mom, he goes on and on until he comes. I love to practice meditation with tea ceremony, the Shaolin way. And he says, Mom, do you know that these dogs were the preferred dogs for tea ceremonies back in the days? The dog was
Brilliant.
in the moment he said that to me and brings me a picture of a dog on the feet of someone doing meditation with tea. Guess what? We have his name is Oreo. He's at home. So I love that. So he used emotion and feelings and everything, but I had to empty my old beliefs, right? And I love that you said to me that you work with people to kind of empty what is not, and then for them to be able to do sales from this approach of core values and leadership and goodness for humanity. So tell us a little bit how you work with people and what is the role of emotions when it comes to sales.
So, you know what I find ironic is a lot of the people that are in sales also have that same dark, icky feeling about sales. And so when you sit down,
Mm,
the first thing I have to
yes.
do is, so the first, whenever I go sit down and do a training, I play a funny video in the beginning and I watch to see who's going to laugh. The people that don't laugh typically are in the wrong profession. They shouldn't be. Let's go be an accountant if you find more joy in numbers than you do in people. And
Ah,
so I will play a video and watch them laugh. And as they laugh, and I tell them when I started, I go, I'm judging you right now. I'm judging you to see if this career is the right way for you. Right. And then if they're laughing, then great. I didn't tell them what was good or bad. I just told you I'm judging you so that you realize it. And then I laugh and I'll watch with them and we'll go through it. But when I ask people, what is your definition of sales? Right. The people that don't like it think they're trying to get someone to make a purchase on something they don't want or need.
Mm.
And then I have to go in and correct that. I have to sit down with them and I go, but I don't want to sell. That's not who I am. That's not what I want to sell. And I explained to everybody, I go, as a trainer, I have to sell you on my philosophy. I have to sell you. So when you look and say the average dealership sells 89 cars a month, and I've taken several dealerships where I was in charge of the dealership to 1,000 cars a month, right? And I tease Grant because I tell him, haha, I did more than 10x. So it's one of those things where I go, look, I can get results from people, but it's what is the vision? And if you have a skewed vision of what sales is, the first step is to correct it. And it always came, if you watch anything in like movies and stuff, salespeople are portrayed negatively. And the reason they're portrayed
Right.
negatively is because it's humorous to say, "Oh, look, yeah, they're just trying to
Mm.
take advantage of people." And people can laugh and they can relate to that because we've all met somebody who was in sales that was only in it for themselves. And so that's where you stop and
Wow.
say, "Okay, when you shift your focus from yourself, right? What did Zig Ziglar tell us all, right? If you help enough people get what they want, you'll get what you want."
Exactly.
Right? I feel the same way when it comes to sales. I will stop somebody. Now I do sales for moving companies, chiropractic, dentist. I do it for software company, gaming systems, right? And automotive just was where I ended up without, thoughts of being there. But I've done sales for criminal defense law firms, right? I did
Mm.
I will go in because guess what? You don't have a company until something gets sold.
Right. Period. That's great to have all the entrepreneurship goals and dreams, but until there's no sale, there's no business. I absolutely agree.
Right. And that was one of the things that I took from Grant early on back in 2008 when we got connected. It was the fact that, you know what? You have nothing until something is sold. You can have an idea, you could actually have product, you can have everything, but until someone buys from you, you're no longer you're not valid until then. And so,
Mm.
are you trusting your company's success or your success in the hands of somebody uneducated in sales, right? Or are you reaching out to say, how do I get better? And I've always been that person, which is how do you get better? And when I was 19, I was in multi-level marketing. I was with a company called Amway.
Yes, I
And
know it.
okay,
I
and I
was
know
in
it
there.
too.
I was in there.
Yeah. And so one of the things I learned from them, which was back in the day, I am dating myself back then, right? We had cassette tapes and there was tape of the week that you were buying for $5. And what I learned was they were continuously feeding you with information and positivity because the world will drag you down
Yes.
because more people feel more comfortable about talking about the negative stuff to build rapport with people as opposed to if I tell you how great I'm doing, then everybody goes, you're bragging and trying to make me feel little. And I'm like, why
Mm.
can't we have, joy in the success for other people? But it's not the way society tells us it should be. And so to me, I always cheer for my friends. I work with my competition, so I will work with my competition and say, look, you're over there, I'm over here. I'd rather use my reputation, land an account, give you my training materials, and have you deliver it because it's local for you. I save the travel and the time, and I will make an override on what it is that's being done, and you'll get the lion's share of what's there. And so but again, I it took a long time. I'm not going to throw out to everybody and go, yeah, have an abundance mindset, there you're done. No. I did used to have scarcity mindset, and it
You?
was, yeah, and it was one of those things that I had to work on. But since I was 19, I was put in this program, and what I learned was that tape of the week was meant to be listened to every day for 7 days until you got another tape of the week. And
Mm.
so to me, I was like, wow. And I used to drive like an hour and a half to work. And so on my drives to work, I'd pop this cassette in, drive for an hour and a half. The cassette was less than an hour. So I would cover the whole cassette right, and a half on my way, and then listen to it again and again, right, to finish it
Mm,
all. So I'm getting like 3 times listening to the tape when I'm driving and commuting. So I was dumping a lot of mindset, successful thinking mindset. And
mm.
so and I was successful at 19 in an industry that a 19-year-old shouldn't, because you have no credibility with people. You have none
Right.
of that. But because I was leveraging the wisdom of other people that had done it before me, it made it easier for me to go through and talk at a level that was above my years. And so that to me, and then I once I learned that and I got into more of the corporate America with the aerospace company, I realized there was politics. Politics is relating to people. How do you relate to people? And so I was like, wow, okay, a lot of red tape when you deal with the government and aerospace. So that helped me to learn all of that. So when I left that industry, there's no other industry that could have more red tape than that and more
Wow.
navigation of people. So I learned at that point, it's truly about people. It's about the person you're across. And the second I lose my ego to put focus on them, the easier everything has gotten in my life. And I'm
Yeah.
not saying, please, Miss Yvonne, just go be taken advantage of. That's not what I'm saying. I'm
Yes.
saying it's the need to for you to one up everybody as they're talking or say
Mm.
how yours is better than theirs or whatever. When it comes to actually selling something, I,
Yeah.
I will dig in and decide if it's right for you based on my experience. And I'll tell
Right.
somebody this is not a good financial decision for you.
Mm. I love the transparency, the honesty, and the fact that you call me Miss Yvonne. I'm like, wow, I need to bring my kids to the podcast for them to
Just play
listen
it
to.
back for them on
Yeah, yeah,
repeat.
I'll
Yeah.
play it back.
Yeah.
But I want to go back a little bit. It's so much wisdom that you are sharing right now. Thank you again. And just due to the time and respecting your time, I do want to talk a little bit about lack and the lack. I don't know if we call it lack consciousness or something, because I witness it most of the time, not of the people that are around me anymore. So the
Mhm.
people that were in lack consciousness, they remove themselves kindly from our lives or our businesses. And as soon as they were removed, not by us, sometimes I get to fire people, I get to,
Mhm.
you
Yep.
know, um, it's amazing, but the area of prosperity and abundance begins to grow when there's no lack consciousness around. So how do you help? Because I love that you said that you used to be in that lack mentality. How do you help someone that is consistently in like, I can't, it's not enough, I don't have enough money, I heard that person saying, oh my gosh, I am just the Uber driver. I'm like, I'm so happy you have a job, right? Or no one is buying my business, no one will do it. It's like that type of mentality. How do you help someone move from that into what's possible?
So to me, every one of those things that you were saying, right? Well,
Mhm.
I'm just the Uber driver, or I'm this and that. Those all come from an identity,
Ah,
and that identity is instilled into them prior to the age of 7.
wow.
Okay. And so prior to the age of 7, you don't have anybody that interrupts somebody talking to you. You take everything as truth. So
Mm,
I usually explain to people, I say, if you've ever been to a parking garage, right, you take your little ticket and that little arm raises up and you drive through. And then on your way out, you put the ticket in, pay it, and that little arm raises up for you to go through. And if that arm doesn't raise up, you don't go through. All of us have a little guard sitting there with that little gate, and that guard, prior to the age of 7, there is no guard. And that's why kids buy into stories
yes,
about fictitious creatures and stuff. If you went to a 4-year-old and said, if I go up on the roof, I can fly, they would go, really? You can do that? They don't look and go, shut up, gravity, right? They don't do that because they don't have anybody working and everything is
right.
a truth. And so prior to the age of 7, there's a parent, there's an adult, there's a mentor figure in there that was continuously talking about how we're not good enough. There's lack. right? There's not enough for us, or we don't deserve it like other people. And that gets set in their head, and that will guide their life because they never stop to change that.
Oh, wow.
And so
Re-
to change it,
yeah,
you actually have to talk about it, and you have to go in and
right.
go, okay, well, who told you you weren't good enough? And if you ask a question like that, they stop and go, what? Right? And almost every person that you identify, Miss Yvonne, that has the lack mentality,
Mhm.
you can ask them and say, so that voice that's in your head when you say you want to do something, whose voice is it? Because it's never theirs. It's going to be, that's my
Yeah.
mom, or that's my
Yes.
dad's voice I hear in my head when I say, I'm going to start a business and I'm going to do that. And then they're going to hear that voice of, but, but good things don't happen to our family,
Mm.
right? And stuff. And so then everybody looks for, how much do I keep? Like, so my bride's mom, right, went through a really tough time, right? Depression kind of thing, where she saves everything. She's like, no, I'm gonna take. You're like, hey, you know what? This food's gonna spoil. She's like, give it to me. I'll eat it before it goes bad.
Oh, yeah, I had someone like that that I knew.
Yeah, and so, but again, they were conditioned to, there is never gonna be enough, and you're
Mm.
you're never gonna get that. So you have to stop and say, look, no, that this isn't what is happening anymore. Stop and look where you live now. Stop and look at who's around you. And again, it's all going to come back from the people around you. Those people that self-selected themselves out of your life did it because they're tired of you telling them by your actions that things aren't as bad as they see it.
Yes.
And they're going to go, wow, Miss Yvonne, you're just way too excited about what you're doing. You're way too happy, and you're way more lucky than me.
Oh, do you know them? Do you
Exactly.
know the
Because they're
people?
all the same, right?
Oh,
And
oh my
so
gosh.
you set an example that they don't feel they can live up to. And then when we stop and look and go, but I used to be there. Every single person is qualified to teach an older version of themselves.
Oh,
So
that's so powerful. That
yeah,
that's that's kind. Dr. Joe Dispenza would be proud of us in this
yes,
moment.
he would. Yes, he would.
Yes,
Yeah, a previous version of you. So if you look and go, you know what? I used to be really, really negative when I was 15 or 16, but I overcame that. That means you know how to talk to a 15 or 16-year-old to get over that. So we
yes.
all bring value, but most people don't want to recognize it, or they discount the value, right?
Wow.
They go, yeah, but that's not going to be important for a lot of people. I'm like, really? How many 15 or 16-year-olds are out there that, have a lot of issues going on?
Yes.
And they'd be like, oh, probably not a lot. I'm like, out of 7 billion people, come on.
Yeah, of course.
Right? Yeah. And so, I mean, does it matter to a 2-year-old? No. But I'm not saying look for that. It's not something that all adults want either. But people need to understand, and how much value can you provide to somebody. If you can't provide a value to someone your age, then go to someone younger and provide value to them. Because wouldn't it be nice if we didn't have to go through all the heartache that we went through?
Yeah. Oh my goodness, Joe. This reshapes my mind already onto sales and everything. We have a belief in our companies that I gotta share it with you. It's
Yeah,
like
please.
we're proud of it that we sell to serve. We don't serve to sell. We don't serve to get the sale. We actually sell to be able to be of service and actually resolve a problem, or and support people to elevate and everything like that. And when you are sharing, I'm like, okay, our team is in a good path here. We can be better.
Right.
But I love how you're removing the ego. I love the awareness of the brain, how important it is. And I love that you can retrain yourself. Those of you who are listening right now, if you believe that there's lack in the world, just check in, Mr. Joe. And one more question, about, I really, we're about to uplevel our podcast. We have such a belief. We have a core value, Joe, of the bamboo wisdom, which is A good bamboo will grow first underground, like 4 years. We'll learn all of the nuances of the fertile soil, and then we'll grow as a strong, strong bamboo after that. So we have kind of that belief. So we're slow in the growth, but solid in the consistency. And soon we'll open it the video, and I would love to invite you back. When it's in video, because I think you are one of the most in depth and good humans I've met, and thanks to the podcast and to Colleen Gallagher. I'm just gonna give her a shout out
Oh
because
yes, love
I heard
Colleen.
her in her podcast. I heard your podcast, and I was like, wow, I want to meet this soul. So, but I want to talk about something that I consistently meet, like on people, clients, students, that they get so upset when someone that has been following them for years, and we just had this experience of someone that used to work with us, not anymore, that this lady was so kind always to him, right? But she wouldn't buy anything, and this person, what he did, wrote her a really nasty message, thinking that it was not nasty, like, you haven't bought anything that I offer, you keep saying that you will, so I'm removing you, I'm blocking you. This lady is an older lady, she's, I don't know how many resources has, but I felt that if I had done that to her, it just felt wrong. So what? Because I know that understanding for you customer satisfaction is a critical factor, right? Not only in retaining the customer, but also in just being good human. So tell me a little bit about this. How important is customer satisfaction, and how important the client is, just as a reminder for everyone listening to this podcast?
Absolutely. Here's what I'm going to tell you. So I disagree with a lot of, the other people that out there teaching sales. So I have a friend of mine that always says, you know what sales is about? Sales is about a relationship. And I always argue with them. I go, no, it's not. I said, sales is about results.
Yes.
Sales is about results. Consistent results builds a relationship.
Mm.
Okay. And so an individual like you were talking about, that person is still in lack
Yes.
because they feel that whatever they're giving is so worthy that everyone should give them their money.
That's
Well,
true. And that's what this person told us.
right. And it's like, but that's not the case, right? What if you're the light for that person who's on
Mm.
the edge, right? On every day they're on the edge of whether or not they're going to go forward. Then they go and they listen to a YouTube video of you, and that's just designed to get them in a mood that they can go forward. But you just took it away from them because you're going to block them because they never gave you money for what you put out,
Oh, I feel pain.
right?
Yeah.
Right. So who was that individual thinking about?
Himself, their self.
Exactly.
Yes.
And when
Wow.
you're thinking about yourself, again, you just took the focus back to you, which
Yes.
now puts you more in the I'm a sleazy salesperson who doesn't care about what's best for the customer.
Oh.
And so again, my answer is never going to be that. I have 11,000 followers on Instagram.
Mm.
Okay. I
Mm.
don't know everybody. I don't
No.
I don't go back and forth with them. I can offer free products to
Yes.
people, and I don't get 11,000 people going, "Ooh ooh ooh, let me go get Joe's stuff." Right? I
Mm.
don't know the reason why they followed me at all. But I'm saying, okay, I'm grateful you're out there, because if I stay consistent, something is going to move them. Right? We used to have a saying in sales that it takes 7 touch points for someone to feel comfortable enough with you that they would purchase from you.
Mm.
So they have to inspect you 7 times. Google, I
Oh.
just I just met with a guy who does Google ads, and he's like this master of all these Google programs that are out there. He
Yes.
said Google has set up a 500 step process to
What?
get you comfortable with buying something. So they look at me and they
Wow.
go, "Well, here's Joe's age, right? Here's what we know about height, weight, buying cycles, all of this stuff, all the data that they've amassed about me." They go, "Well, he may need orthopedic shoes in 20 years. So set him on a 500 points from now, between now and 20 years. How do we get him to be in the time frame of buying orthopedic shoes and
Wow.
selling to them. So they've already predicted all of this
Yes.
stuff about us, and
Yes.
they've collected the data. And again, if you don't collect data and if you don't understand your prospects,
Mm.
then you just choose to get angry when results are poor.
Oh my God, Joe, Joe, this is, I'm really envisioning our podcast goes mainly to Latin American community that speaks
Okay.
English. And I'm already feeling the joy they're going to feel, it's in my heart, because you just gave us master class, not only
Yeah.
of sales, but of customer value, of the understanding your prospect, of good core values, of caring for the people. And you even gave me and all of our team here, and we'll talk about with them once we, complete here to see what is their experience. But one of the greatest teachings of ego removal, which is an aspiration for any true devoted faith or spiritual practitioner, which is, how can I not let my ego get in the way of me actually being a good human being and helping others in this path of life.
And you
And
believe in service, right?
uh,
Your ego will block your
100%.
ability to serve.
Uh, Yes, Joe, for me, if I'm not serving, I'm dying. I'm
Right.
any time that I go into an ego trip or I don't feel
Mhm.
good, it's because I'm not serving.
Yeah,
So I
absolutely.
I really treasure everything that you are sharing. I know we have just 5 more minutes to go, and where is, and we will share everything with people before we end with a blessing, and I'll guide you into that. But where can people find you? Where should people start when they know about you, Joe? Where can, like, a person that is doesn't has like a big corporation, and that wants to just remove their lack and consciousness, their awareness, and where do they start with you?
The easiest place to start that I've put together, and this is another sales technique, how easy are you making it for someone to buy from you, find you, and learn about you?
Yes.
Right. So if you don't do those things, nobody can get there. They go, great show. I just don't know what to do.
Oh my
So
God.
so me, my coined name is the Sales Genius. So
Yes.
if you go to the Genius Links,
Mhm.
links.com. Okay,
Yes.
that'll show you everything that I have out on the web. So if you go, well, I wonder if Joe has a TikTok. You go to the Genius links, go down to TikTok, click it, and it's there. Instagram, Clubhouse, all of these different social media platforms, my YouTube channels, all of these different things. And there's some sample trainings because I don't want to work with someone that doesn't click. So
Right.
my answer is I'll throw out here's a free training. Here's some stuff on my YouTube channel, right? The War Games group is an actual sales training group that I do. And that is once a week, I go live teaching people. I have a private group,
Mm.
and then I will throw some of them out onto YouTube. So go learn because I believe I'm not the only one holding knowledge. So I will bring guest speakers on to talk about how to do sales, marketing, branding,
Yes.
mindset, and attitude. All of that gets done, but I refuse to try to fight people then say sales is not bad. Most
I
people
love
think
that.
I'm trying
Yes.
to fight. I'm trying to fight for the prospect's money. So I said, okay, so if you think it's a battle, then I'm going to call the show War Games. And then once you get in
Ah,
there,
genius.
right? Once you get in there, then you'll learn it's not that you're going about it the
Oh,
wrong way. But I don't want to try to change everyone's philosophy on what a sales thing is. That'll
no.
just limit the ability of my reach. And
Wow.
Mark Victor Hansen challenged me
Mm.
to the same challenge he has. And he said, Joe, I challenge you. How do you impact 7 billion people?
Mm.
Right. And that changed the way I look at all the stuff I do. And so all of a sudden, more stuff got out there. And I was like, oh, I'm going to go put this out. I'm going to go put this out. I'm going to go put this out. But I do personality trainings. I do all of the stuff. But I spend
Yes.
most of my time
Yeah.
investing in me so that I can
Mm.
be a better version for the person I
That's
meet.
key. Yeah, Joe, we require Mr. Joe because you call me Miss, and I'm like, oh, Joe, the oxygen mask, as everybody, Jim
Yes.
Rohn, Tony Robbins, Brian Tracy, always put it first. and then we can feed people. We can give them even more of ourselves.
Yes.
And so everybody, listen to this. We'll put all the links, but we'll just put this link. This is the most organized, clean, clear link I've ever seen in my life. And I work with great people, and this is thegeniuslinks.com. We will put it here. You'll have the Ingram interactive website, the how to book a one-on-one meeting with Mr. Joe, the affiliate links, how you can join the War Games group, a 10-day author course. In 10 days, you can become published author. He has a store, his author page, an Etsy store. I mean, you are my hero. You know how much I've said, I want to open a store. I haven't. And he has products, he has everything there, and that you can connect with Mr. Joe and learn and get your sales game into business, and get your business into serving people, and get the service of people becoming something great that supports us all in humanity, just to be better humans. So, Joe, we have the last thing that I'm going to ask you, and it's a tradition that we have. We ask our guests to give a blessing to the audience. It can be a joke. It can be it can be anything that comes from your soul for the Spirituality Now podcast listeners.
Fantastic. Here's what I'm going to throw out to everybody. Okay. The blessing I wish upon you is the vision and the clarity to take one more step forward. I want you to be able to see just the next step instead of seeing the 1 mile journey or the 200 steps to get yourself started on a podcast or to start your business or to do something. I just want you to have the clarity and the drive enough to take one step going forward. We have a university of YouTube out there that you can learn to do anything, but knowledge is not power. Application of knowledge is power. You have to make movement. And I tell everybody, action solves everything. And I am wishing upon for everybody to take one foot forward, begin action on fulfilling the dream that you have now, because the impact will be felt by generations to come.
Oh, amen.
Amen.
Faith without action is dead, everybody. What a great blessing. What a great reminder, especially for me that I'm like a multiple steps person. So, and for all of us, thank you for that step, Joe. Thank you for your wisdom, for your time here in the podcast. And thank you, everyone, for joining us. And I'm going to go apply all the things that I wrote down in my notepad with Mr. Joe. And we send you all the love, all the blessings. Go take that one step. And we'll see you next week. Same time, same channels, all over the internet we are. And we love you. Thank you so much. Un besito. Adios. Thank you for listening to the Spirituality Now podcast. Be sure to subscribe on your favorite podcasting platform and share us with a friend. To learn more about how to live more present in the moment and take your faith into action, visit thelaflorteachings.com/faith to access the free training of 21 Days of Faith in Action today.